I wanted to spend a few moments with you quickly and remind you of some important things around these times of great challenge for certain people. I want you to understand that all of the work you've been doing in your meditations, whether you're doing a walking meditation or a seated meditation, or you're overcoming yourself, or you practice connecting to that infinite field of potentials where you'll experience wholeness, these times in particular are the times that you've been preparing for and all the work that you've been doing. And now it's time to live this work. And it's time to step out of fear and separation because you're only suggestible to information equal to the emotions that you experience. And that's what programs the autonomic nervous system into a particular destiny. So when everybody else is experiencing fear, that's the time to experience courage or to maintain courage. When everybody else is in scarcity and lack, that is the time to give. And we have to be able to demonstrate what it looks like to this world, so more and more people are no longer controlled by their environment and the circumstances that are outside of them. So think about it. All of your work and dedication is for you to sustain some type of change independent of the conditions in your environment, to literally be greater than your body and to be able to sustain that change for a period of time. And many people during a time where they experience survival will experience separation. And we know what the stress hormones do in survival. And you have been trained very well to open your hearts and to go against that primitive nervous system that keeps us in our animal nature. So step out of the common, step out of the natural and the normal, and become supernatural and demonstrate what it is to be that to the world. So you give people an opportunity to do the same. On an experiment, just 10 minutes a day, 3 times a day with 120 people, trading resentment, frustration, fear for gratitude, appreciation, and thankfulness, measuring their immune response. The chemical immunoglobulin A, your primary defense against bacteria and viruses, the best flu shot you'll ever get, lives innately within you. Turns out when you're frustrated, when you're impatient, when you're fearful, the immune system dials down because you're an emergency. It's not that all your energy is going for some threat in your outer world. There's no energy in your inner world for growth and repair. But how do you turn that around? So then, as people begin to open their heart, can that chemical begin to elevate? 4 days, 50% changed in the 120 people. Their IgA levels went up 50% in 4 days. That's your body's immune system is now upregulating genes that are making proteins and immunoglobulins and antibodies that you don't need a flu shot. In other words, your inner state is greater than your outer world. So then, just by doing that, we now know that your immune system is going to get stronger. By the same means, take 120 people or 50 people and measure 7,500 gene regulations. Okay? In 4 days, 2 genes that suppress cancer growth and tumors are activated and upregulated. The genes that stimulate stem cells to go to damaged tissues and repair them, upregulated. The gene for oxidative balance is upregulated. Anti-cancer, anti-aging, anti-heart disease, anti-stroke, anti-neurodegenerative, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial. Just the body's naturally doing this. The gene for neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons in response to novel experiences and learning. This is 4 days. The gene switches on. The gene for more balance in the pituitary and the pancreas. The gene for the microtubules of cells, the little fibers that respond to energy and frequency. So in 4 days, we now know that you can change your genetic destiny if you just practice the inner work. We have research to show that 60 days of meditation, 5 days a week, will lengthen your life. The telomeres, the little shoestrings on the end of your DNA, get longer. That means your biological age is changing. So we have the evidence now to show people what's possible. We have brain scans that are so outside of normal that when neuroscientists see them, they're blown away because the amount of energy that's in the brain during this transcendental moment is hundreds of times outside of normal.
Wow.
I mean, you can't make your brain do that. Something is happening to you, and that person's having a transcendental moment. We now know that we can predict it, and we now know that we can induce it.
I did many studies already because I don't like speculation. I go through study, the scrutiny, and let any scientist prove me wrong, because I like to go through the truth, because I think there is more than meets the eye. I did many studies, and yes, I could resist the bacteria as thought of not being able by humans. We changed medical history by showing a group of people compared to 16,134 people becoming sick after injection of a endotoxemia, and then suddenly 1,200% score within a quarter of an hour, complete control over the innate immune system and the specific, by the way, the adaptive immune system. And how did I learn to do that and to pass it on? Because it's already there in us. It only needs to awaken. The adaptive immune system is willfully regulating and controlling your T cells and B cells, and they are located in the bone marrow. We are able to willfully influence the bone marrow and to release the T and B cells, which are very specific in the targeting on the bacteria and the virus, and apoptosis, cell death. They created, instead of fever and uncontrolled shivering and headaches and being sick, flus, fever and all that, is the second layer. We got into the third layer, into the depth of the immune system, into the deepest. So, willfully being able to get into the bone marrow and release the T and B cells in case of inflammation is what and inflammation, I tell you, is the cause of any disease. For that, we have the breathing exercises, and it has been shown in the comparative study. All the guys who did the breathing exercises, the endotoxin normally creates inflammation and thus uncontrolled shivering, all over agony, headaches, and fever. And the people really get sick after being injected with the bacteria, E. coli. And that's normal. But it was not normal to be able to inoculate that reaction. How did we do that? By breathing exercises that are like controlled hypoxia, where through the brainstem, the fight and flight suddenly activates the adrenaline and resets the body. And resetting the body is going past our comfort zone conditioning, going back in our primordial state, the way nature meant it to be, and that is being able effectively to battle dis-ease. Very simple, very effective, very accessible to any human in the world. And then we go a step further. A step further is the last study, wherein I was exposed to cold water, and just by a thought I was able to make the skin temperature not going down. Well, I was, normally it goes down. That is what everybody thinks, isn't it? And yes, 74 people before me, they did it, and they saw all the same graphics. It goes down after exposure to cold water, and when warm water comes up, then it goes up again and goes down, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm. And then I did it, same. I didn't do anything. Why? Because I'm in command of my breath, and with that I become in command of my alchemy, and I'm able then to send and to manipulate any part of my body. They looked inside the brain, and whereas normally stress comes to work on the body, and that could be cold, could be heat, but could also be emotion. Depression, bipolar, anxiety, fear, PTSD, trauma, it's all stress in the brain. And it gets inflamed. And we don't know how to break the loop. Now they looked inside of my brain while this stressor was going on, and I stayed out of the stressor. When the cold came in, I just stayed over there, and warmth, called was, I said, in control. And then they looked inside the brain. And whereas normally the activity of the stress is highlighting the prefrontal cortex, the conscious brain, because it's cold. Oh, I feel bad because I'm divorced now and this and that and my business is gone and whatever, stress, real stress. And then the insula, which is normally active, very activated, when you go into deep meditation, then the insula is becoming more red. And then this is blue because deactivates the normal daily consciousness. And the insula, the deep meditation is on. Blood flow goes in the deeper parts of the brain. Suddenly it becomes all active and it's pleasant, it's nice for it. And the stress coming to my body did not make my prefrontal cortex active. And then they saw something very remarkable, which is a robust activation of the PAG, which is part of the brain stem, that is the deepest part of the brain, the fight and flight, the survival, but also the area of the hormonal periaqueductal gray hemisphere, which is responsible for the activation of opioids. And we got an epidemic on opioids, isn't it?